First, please say hello to the Korean audience. Now, would you kindly introduce yourself and your film?
Hello, I'm Fransuajabiye. I'm the director of The Time of Forest. It's a documentary that deals with the forest management in France and how it tends to be to follow more the agriculture intensive model with tree monocultures, and it deals with the ecological effects of this model.
I feel quite bitter that the forest has now become a wood factory. Is there any reason you choose this subject?
Well, actually, I live in France, in the countryside, in the center of France, which is a zone of big trees monoculture. So I'm a kind of witness of this tendency in France, and I wanted to testify of this movement in France towards industrialization of forest, and that's why I made this film.
3. Can you explain more about the forester's work at the National Forest Office? What exactly does the forester do, and what is the role of the office?
Well, the Office National des Forêts, the national office in France, deals with the public forest, which is about 25% of the whole forest in France, and the forest in France is about 1/3 of the territory, so it's quite huge. And well, it's responsible. The workers, they are responsible for a forest of about 1,000 hectares, sometimes a bit more. So it's quite a big responsibility. They are responsible for all the being careful with all the risk of fire, of plagues, of pollution, but they're also responsible for the social aspects and also for the economical exploitation, which trees have to be cut and when and in which conditions, where it needs to be planted and all these things. But the politics of the national office is directed by the states that gives order, and the tendency is to focus more on the economical missions than on the ecological missions. So that's the problem that's mentioned in my film.
4. The remark, the trees are stronger when they are together, they are like us, the forest is a society, was quite impressive. We want to know whether the most people in France agree with this movement against a monoculture in Massif du Morvan, Bourgogne.
Actually, it's a bit hard to answer to this question because majority of the people live in France live in the city, so they are not very aware of what's going on in the forest. When they go to Morvan or to my region, Limousin, when they see trees monoculture, well, they think it's good because they see tree, it's green, and they don't really realize that it's totally artificial. And when they see a clear cut, they are more shocked. And but the industry says that, well, you don't have to worry because we plant tree after we cut them, so there's nothing really wrong. But I actually think there's something wrong in this method.
5. It was surprising that the forests were cultivated like crops. The methods, including the single species plantation, clear cutting, and the uses of agricultural pesticides, seems to ignore the biological diversity. We wondered whether the Douglas fir tree in this film also had grown from the genetically modified seed like GMO soy, and why do people plant these species of trees so largely?
Well, the Douglas fir is planted largely because it's basically the tree that the world market likes, because it grows very quickly and it's standardized, so it's very adapted to a very large scale industry. So that's the basis of its success. as far as I know, there are no genetically modified douglas yet, but there is active genetical research on trees at the moment, especially in poplars. You had large-scale poplars genetically modified plantation in China, for example, and eucalyptus, especially in Brazil, where Suzano, which is the first paper industry in the world, Brazilian group, has developed genetically modified eucalyptus that you can find in a very large plantation in the west of Brazil, and it's a tree that basically grows even quicker than the normal eucalyptus, which is already the fastest growing trees in the world.
6. We were quite shocked by how many things we didn't know. For example, we didn't know that some conglomerate had invested more money in forest industry and using monstrous machines destroyed it, and that the wood is mostly used as pallets due to the explosive increase in logistics delivery through globalization. What can the forest industry do for the sustainable use of resources?
I don't know if the industry has got the answer. You know, it's more a political issue. So, and I think on the global scale, we definitely need to diminish strongly and drastically our wood product needs, especially cardboard or paperboard, which is actually there was a big explosion of this consumption with globalization. All that is wrapping, I don't think it's a basic human needs, and really we can act on this. And I don't really believe in all eco labels, you know, which is most of the time greenwashing. So it's more a question of diminishing, you know, our consumption, and it's more a political issue than I don't think we have to expect anything from the big industry.
7. People say that there will be no way back to the normal life after the crisis. The fact that we meet you online instead of the theater venue of the festival shows the first change of the post-corona era. What is your opinion on this matter?
Well, I'm a bit divided on this issue, on this matter. On the one hand, I don't think it's very sustainable to take the plane just to answer some Q&As and to cross the world, you know. Although it's really also always a very good experience, you know, to meet the audience, and for the audience to meet the director of the films. So, well, and on the other hand, you know, well, it's nice that we can. I don't think it's really chatting, but you can assist to some kind of Q&A, you know, thanks to digital technologies. But I'm not really satisfied with the lack of human contact, and I don't think it can be a model of society, of future that I would desire. Not to mention that the digital society is a huge infrastructure that's also got a extremely strong ecological impact, even more than plain industry. So, well, I'm divided. Bye bye.